What's up, guys? It's D Brown with Track Headz TV. I'd like to welcome you to another episode. Today, we'll be talking about what's the hardest event in track, not field, but in track and field, but only the track events that we're going to be talking about today. What is the hardest event in track? I debate these with my homies. I debate these with, people that I meet that run track and field. I hear a bunch of different answers. I hear the sprints. I hear the hurdles. I hear the 110 hurdles. I hear all these crazy, different perspective and events, from distance runners to mid-distance to sprints to hurdles to the technical events. And everyone has always been asking, like, yo, D Brown, what's your top two, top one, top three hardest events? So I'm going to break it down now, okay? In no particular order, I'm going to break it down for you, because I've run anything from the 100 all the way up to the 5K, 8K. I've done everything. So this is the parameters I'm looking to set it up in, okay? I'm also going to give the whys. This is not just the hardest event to run in a race, but also one of the hardest events to train for. Okay, so I'm going to put that as part of the qualifications to make it the hardest event. So the first event that comes to mind is going to be the 400-meter hurdles. Okay, I ran the 400-meter hurdles. I've run the 400-meter hurdles. It hurts a lot to run the event. And I'm going to give a couple reasons why it's one of the hardest events in track and field to run. First and foremost, there's not one singular thing that will make you really great in the event, right? You have a lot of people that maybe come from the 400 or come from the 800 or come from these speed events, 200, and they tried the 400-meter hurdles. That doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You have hurdlers that come to the event and they think that just because they know how to hurdle, that they can be successful in the event, and that doesn't mean you're going to be successful in the event. The 400-meter hurdles has a unique balance between having the speed and lactic tolerance and speed endurance matched with the ability to hurdle, not just with one leg, but with two legs if you want to be a quality hurdler, unless you're just one of those unicorn people who can maintain their stride rate all the way around the track for the 400-meter hurdles. In my personal experience, I was the best in the 400-meter hurdles. I have a personal best of 54.7 from like my freshman year of college. I only ran it 1 year. And I didn't know how to hurdle with more than 1 foot. So I probably could have got down to like 52, 53. I will always start a step in the last 150 of the race. But one of the things that made me better than most hurdlers, 400-meter hurdlers, even though I didn't know how to hurdle that well, was because during that time I was in the best 400 and 800 shape during that part of the year. So while most people were able to set up their races in the first 250 and then die, because of the conditioning that I had, I was able to survive in the later stages of the races. So with that being said, the hardest part of the race that I feel like a lot of people underestimate when it comes to the 400-meter hurdles is the fact that you still have to be able to hurdle and have the biomechanical abilities that you did at the beginning of the race to be able to go over the hurdle efficiently towards the end of the race. A lot of people don't realize that when you're hurdling and when you are running at full speeds and when you're trying to maintain your rhythm, there's a hurdle staring right at you like 30 meters before the line. And if you're not prepared to jump over that hurdle, like 10 to 15 meters before the line, if you're not ready to jump over that hurdle efficiently and you hit that hurdle, your legs are done. If you thought a 400-meter was hard where you can't control your legs in the sprint, the 400-meter hurdles is multiplied by that, because those 36 inches that men have to jump over, 36 inches is like what, 4 feet? Something like that. 3 feet. Yeah, I think it's 3 feet. So it's about 3 feet. That's a lot. That's a lot. And when you're in a state of lactic, when you're in a state of your legs shutting down, your hamstrings are heavy, your legs are heavy, you feel like you're 300, 400 pounds, it's a no-go. So with all that being said, the 400-meter hurdles are a hard event, and that's why it's so impressive to see some of these professional athletes drop these times to remarkable times. It's really, really impressive, from Dalilah Muhammad to Sydney McLaughlin to Rai Benjamin to Warholm to all these athletes. It's really, really impressive to really see them week after week, month after month, year after year, really set these records down to heights that we have never seen before. And pushing it, like I said, even further. It's just really impressive. Like I said, I ran the event. It's very, very hard to do. And that's why it's one of the top 3, hardest events. So that will be the first one, right? 400-meter hurdles is my first pick. My second pick, hands down, will have to be the 800-meter dash. Okay, people, maybe you're surprised, maybe you're not surprised, but I ran the 800 as well. Okay, the 800 will be the hardest, is because it's not, a lot of people are just like, well, it's a mid-distance event, you can pace yourself, yada, yada, yada. And I want people to understand, this isn't like your typical AAU, beginning of March and April. You can jog the first 600 and probably kick in and finish the 200, or there's a jogging tempo to it. When you run it at an elite level, and, that can be different for everyone. For high school boys, it can be under 2. For female girls, it can be under 2:15. When you start to run these 800s at an efficient level, it's no longer a pace job. It's you running the first 400 within 4 to 5 seconds of your fastest is running the first 400 of an 800 within 5 to 6 seconds or 4 seconds of your fastest 400 open. Once you are in that rhythm and you're in a state and your legs are in a state of like that kind of burn, and then you're still expected to continue going and having another gear to kick it in, it's like a controlled sprint. It's like what some people imagine what the 400 should be, right? It's really a controlled sprint, and there's a certain level of pain and lactic activity that you have to get used to, that you have to convince yourself is normal in order to be successful in that particular event. You see the record, the kind of like the 400, when you see the 800 be run really, really well, it's a really great sight to see. That's when you know that someone's really talented and they're like a phenom. But majority of people that run 800s, it's a death march in that last 150. In the majority of men that you see, women that you see, is a death march. As of late, there's only a couple people I've seen that run the 800 really gracefully. That's like IG Wilson on a professional level, a Thing Mo on a professional level, where it doesn't look like they're necessarily tiring out. There's a young lady that runs for Great Britain, that gave a Thing Mo a run for her money last year. I don't know her name. I forgot her name, but she's someone that runs really smooth as well, where they don't look like they're dying. That's a skill. But if the majority of the event that you see people dying across the line, and like I said, it's very hard to train for as well, because there's a unique balance between speed endurance, but still having that endurance that you would have if you were running the mile. And there's so many different ways to run it. You can have a sit and kick kind of race where, you're more of a racer, where you kind of sit in the back of the pack and then decide to start inching up. I think Clayton Murphy is real good for that kind of tactic. Then you have the opposite of that, which is like a Donovan Brazier approach, where you're sitting and you have so much speed that you're able to come through at 50 comfortably, because your PR is probably like 45 or 46 or a 44 split on a 4x4, and still able to double back in, let's say, a 52 or 51 and have a quality split. So like I said, when it's done at the high level, it's really beautiful to watch. But the 800 is one of those events. I ran the 800 personally. It hurts, it burns. It burns a lot. Let's just say that. So like I said, it's just very interesting just to really think of these events. In my personal opinion, it was harder to train for the 800 than it was the 400-meter hurdles. But when I was in shape for the 800, it made the 400-meter hurdles that much better. So just my little 2 cents. I have maybe like one more event that I would want to talk about, and I would say it's I'm gonna go a little crazy. I'm gonna say the 10,000. Okay. The 5,000/10,000. Those long distance events are no joke. A lot of people, when on a professional level, they don't really show the event. They're kind of just like, yo, let's go to commercial, let's cut. And a lot of people underestimate the amount of lactic, the amount of burn, the amount of mental fortitude that it takes to run at a pretty solid pace for an extended period of time. I'm talking like for women, 14, 15 minutes. For men, 12 to 13 minutes at a professional level. It is difficult. I ran the 5K. I know the demons that talk to you when you're 10 minutes into your run, when you're 2 miles in. I know the demons that talk to you and tell you to stop because it burns. It's a slow, excruciating burn that tends to peak out at the at the climax of the run, which is like the last 2-3 minutes. It is horrible. It is bad. It hurts more than 800 for me. It hurts more than a 400-meter hurdles for me, because in the 400-meter hurdles, you burn in the last 150, right? That takes maybe for most 18 to 20 seconds. In the 800, you burn for the last 150 to 200. That's anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. For the 5K, you will burn for 3, 4, 5 minutes in certain cases, especially when you're going at a high pace, at a high rhythm. For the 10K, you could be burning the whole last mile, and you're still expected to not just maintain your pace, but have some sort of kick at the end. It is the most excruciating pain I've probably ever felt. I mean, even to this day, I've been running track for such a long time. The most pain I've ever been in for track and field, and the hardest event that I've ever had to train for, was probably the 5K when I was in college. It was horrible. And that's how I got down to 16:01, when previously my PR was like a 17, like 18, something like that. So like I said, the amount of burn that I felt, I have to be outside of my mind. I have to tell myself that I'll be okay. It's a lot of mental gymnastics. So, those are my top three. Those are my top three hardest events. I feel like it's hard to train for. The hardest events in track and field. I'm curious to see what yours are. A lot of people may say the 100, it's all right. The 200, a lot of people may say the 1500. A lot of people may say the 110 hurdles. That's actually, I would say, like my number 4, but I'm just going to give my top 3 for today. If you have a different opinion of events that you think are the hardest, definitely put them in the comments below. I'm very curious to see, because a lot of people are going to be picking some very marshmallow events, and I'm definitely going to let you know that it's marshmallow. It's not that hard to train for. But yeah, I'm very, very curious to hear you guys' opinion. So don't hesitate to hit that comment. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Like I said, it's D Brown with Track Headz. I want to hear your opinion below. Okay. Check y'all later. It's D Brown with Track Headz. Peace.